Electricity Minister Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has given an update on the implementation of the Energy Action Plan and noted the sudden digression after load shedding was successfully suspended for a period and has now made a return. The Electricity Minister will from Monday be conducting follow-up visits to Eskom power plants. The Finance Minister this week outlined new conditions for the Eskom debt relief for municipalities, with about 28 approved for debt relief and 2 others have their debt completely written off. We discussed these developments with energy analyst Professor Swilling. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time this morning. Perhaps let's revisit this moment where the electricity minister admitted that they've dropped the ball somewhat.
Well, I think what we need to recognize is that overall the situation is improving. The energy availability factor is not worse than last year, and it's slightly better. But at the same time, what we know for sure is that nobody can really be certain about what's going to happen tomorrow, because that's the problem with the fleet. There's high levels of uncertainty. But if he can and Eskom can keep the energy availability factor above 60%, and the renewables start to come online as they are supposed to, we could see the end of load shedding by the end of next year.
Okay, let's take a look, listen at what the electricity minister said in this moment.
We have done exceptionally well over the period of 3 months, and I think the ball was dropped here. And it's important that we impress upon the team, and that's the internal conversation we're having, for us to be able to build confidence, for us to be able to build credibility in our ability to resolve this crisis. It's important that we are consistent with in relation to our performance. You can't have these oscillations, that you have a UCLF of 13,000 megawatts, we reach periods of about 12,000 megawatts, and suddenly you go to 17,000 megawatts. I don't think that you are going to give confidence to the South African public, and most importantly to the South African public, but also to commerce and business and potential investors who want to invest their money into the South African economy.
Prof, you speak of potentially ending load shedding by 2024. What will help us get there? The Finance Minister announced that some municipalities will have their debt written off, and then you've also got the inclusion of independent power producers in the mix. What will help South Africa get there?
Well, the minister there, I think, is talking to Eskom and wrapping Eskom over the knuckles, saying, we can't have a period of unplanned closures and then suddenly things change very suddenly. But what he needs to accept is that the state of the fleet is such that nobody at Eskom can really predict what's going to happen tomorrow. What we have is a high levels of uncertainty, and that is not going to change anytime soon. There is definitely improvements, but I don't think he needs to get upset when suddenly things go wrong, because that's the nature of the beast. But to answer your question directly, what we need is for the energy availability factor to stay above 60%, and then we need the renewables to come online. And a lot of those renewables have been procured, a lot of them are being constructed. Unfortunately, the approvals came a bit late, but nevertheless, it's done. And we're talking then about end of 2024 as the earliest when we could really start to think seriously about the end of load shedding.
Is it clear at this point, at least, just how much that will cost South Africa?
Well, the Minister of Finance basically in February announced a massive bailout package for Eskom to draw down its debt. So that is costing us an enormous amount of money, 270-something billion. And that is eating into our education, health, police services, and it's a significant contributor to the austerity budget that we've just had now, which is really about cutbacks that is going to affect not just our services and infrastructure, but also our economic growth rate. So I think we are paying very, very heavily for the effect of state capture on Eskom, which really hollowed it out. But when it comes to getting renewables onto the grid, that's not going to cost government very much. It's going to be invested by the private sector. What is going to cost is extending the grid so that the renewables can get connected onto the grid. There are places where we have lots of wind, lots of sun, great for renewables, but the grid is weak and it needs to be upgraded and fixed. That's going to cost. But again, that could be significantly paid for by the private sector, depending on the institutional arrangements that are put in place.
Prof, how should we understand that? It's more so when you speak of the effects of state capture in terms of what we are experiencing at Eskom, right? Because if we understand it, we are told this has been going on for 15 years and there's several administrations in between. And then the Sunday World has been doing a really good job over the weeks in tracking Matsela Koko's court case. And details that are coming out of there are really not making sense, some of them, in terms of pinning him down, one of the people who are alleged to have brought Eskom to its knees. And so how should we understand that in terms of why we find ourselves here as a country?
It's a very good question, and it's definitely not. It's not about immediate causes; they're deep causes. So back in 1998, there was a white paper that said we need to build new power stations, and that government didn't. Government approved the white paper, but didn't implement the recommendation. Then the first load shedding started to happen end of 2007. Thabo Mbeki apologized, but that's nearly 10 years of delay. And then rush to build Medupi and Kusile. All the problems, massive overspending, inefficiencies, and they're still not 100%. And then in 2015, we had the CEOs of Eskom, Matsela Koko and Brian Belefe, who refused to sign the power purchase agreements to bring 5 gigawatts of renewables onto the grid. If they had signed those contracts, 95% of the load shedding we have now wouldn't exist. So there are decisions that were not made going a long way back, which have accumulated to where we are now. We have a Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, and not a single new electron has come onto the grid since he was appointed. So the new Minister of Electricity is trying to change that and accelerate things. But it's, some would say it's all the big decisions now are being made too late.
And therein lies a risk, no, Prof, because when you want to accelerate something, is there room or potential for things then not to be done right? So when we speak of state capture, could we very well see that as well in the name of trying to rescue things and do them well in such a short space of time? Because this is, if it's taken so many years to fix it, surely it cannot be done overnight or in 1 year. And so do we not run the risk, if we're not paying attention to this happening again?
Well, state capture hasn't ended at Eskom. We still have the organized crime syndicates that are extracting, and yes, the security forces and the NPA and everybody is doing a lot to get people into orange overalls. That's so we need to celebrate that, but it's still not enough. But the big players still haven't been affected. So we still have to deal with state capture for sure, and that's going to take time. But state capture, as you correctly say, affected the technological infrastructures and the institutional integrity of Eskom, and that is also going to take a while to fix. And that's what the Minister of Electricity is doing quite a good job. He's transparent. He gives regular press conferences. He tells us what's going on. I think the Eskom information portals are okay. That could be better. But I think we're in a very, very difficult position. It's not going to be fixed quickly. And at the same time, the economy is growing. We need the electricity. The costs are going up. The economy is not doing so well. So yeah, we're in a very, very, very difficult situation. If they could fix this and we could end load shedding quickly, it's going to make a very positive impact on economic growth.
Professor Mark Swilling is an energy analyst. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time this morning.